Just 2 years ago, Jared Goff was quarterbacking a team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl, coming off a season where he threw for 32 touchdowns and over 4,600 passing yards. Now, everything seems different. Goff has had back-to-back letdown seasons since 2018 and now is on the Detroit Lions. The Rams essentially gave up extra draft capital just to not have this guy on their roster and getting rid of his ugly contract. But this leads us to the question: how did Jared Goff go from a 23/24-year-old quarterback that was playing at an all-pro level to being traded and not looked at nearly the same just 2 years later? There's not one simple answer, there are plenty of variables, but I always go back to this rumored theory about the Rams offense. Yes, this is a rumor, I'm not 100% sure this is the case, but there's plenty of speculation and it's something I choose to believe as a football fan. Let's first go over how the helmet communication between players and coaches works. Each time the play clock restarts at 40, the headset communication between coaches and players is turned on. Once the play clock reaches 15 seconds, the communication is turned off and it's just up to the players at that point. Sean McVay, being the smart coach that he is, decided to use this to his advantage and would have his offense as up-tempo as possible just to get to the line and give his quarterback the best call based on the defense that was being shown. McVay, being the offensive genius he is, would give Goff what he thought was the perfect play and they would go from there. In 2015 and 2016, before McVay was hired, the Rams ranked last in the NFL in offensive efficiency and EPA. But in 2017, after he was hired, the Rams jumped up to 8th in the league in offense in his first season as head coach. Jared Goff made a jump from what looked to be like a potential bust in his 7-game showcase his rookie year to being one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league under McVay's offense in year 2. Goff went from a 63.6 quarterback rating in his rookie year all the way up to 100.5 in year 2. Also in 2016, the Rams ranked 31st in the NFL in offensive plays per game at 60 plays per game. Just 2 years later in 2018, they jumped that all the way up to 3rd in the NFL with 66.5 plays per game on offense. Now sure, you can say it was that he had better teammates and Jared Goff got older and improved, but it seemed all too drastic to be completely that. And the evidence is there. If you go back and watch a Rams game, especially one from 2017 and 2018, you see many instances where the snap of the ball is before the 15-second mark is even reached, and sometimes well before that. For a lot of teams, you'll see them snap the ball inside the 10-second mark in most cases, but the Rams were constantly up-tempo, and maybe some of that was to tire out the opponent, but I'm sure some of it had to do with the headset communication that shuts off at 15 seconds.
All right, got man coverage. This will be good. Come on, Brandon.
6 minutes to go in regulation. Goff under center. Jet sweep. Right side. Brandon Cooks. Great ball. To the end zone. Touchdown.
The Rams' offense just never felt the same since Super Bowl 53, where they lost to the Patriots and only scored 3 points offensively. And while Goff wasn't bad in 2019 and 2020, he never reached that level that he once was at during the peak of the Rams' offense a couple years prior. Yes, it could have been the offensive line and a few other variables, but the Patriots might have figured something out and created a blueprint in a way to take on the Rams' offense and make it less potent. It's definitely possible. For a comparison, here's what the Rams averaged per game on offense the past 4 seasons. In 2017, it was 29.9 points per game. In 2018, it was 32.9 points per game. Then in 2019, it was 24.6 points per game. And then this past year, it was 23.3. It's a significant drop-off, honestly, from a team that ranked first and second in offense in consecutive years to around league average. So what happened? Do you think that teams started to catch on to the Rams' trick with the play clock and disguise their defensive looks a lot more? Did the Rams start losing some talent over the years? Did Jared Goff regress individually? I think all things can be true, but what we do know is that Sean McVay and Jared Goff had a shaky relationship towards the end. McVay had comments about Goff after a loss to the 49ers in November, and between that and going with John Wolford over Goff to start their playoff game until Wolford's injury, there seemed to be some turmoil between the two. Goff played okay in the playoffs, especially coming off recent thumb surgery, but their 18-32 loss in the divisional round to Green Bay would end up being the last time we saw Jared Goff as an LA Ram. Just a couple years after Goff signed a monster extension for $134 million, he was dealt to Detroit for the Rams to try and upgrade their quarterback position. Not only was it a straight-up swap, but the Rams had to include 2 first-round picks and a third-rounder to do so. It seems like the Rams and McVay have seen enough and hope to get back to the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford as their guy. I do believe Stafford is better by a decent amount, but I can't help but feel bad for Jared Goff in some way. He was drafted number 1 overall to be the guy in Los Angeles, has had a couple of Pro Bowl level seasons and 2 pretty good ones, but that still wasn't enough. It feels like he's being sent to Detroit to be a placeholder for their next eventual quarterback, and if I had to make a prediction today, I'd say that Detroit's probably going to finish in the bottom 3 next season while the Rams look to be Super Bowl contenders. I understand why the Rams made the trade, and I do think it makes them a better football team, but I still have empathy for Jared Goff in a way. And honestly, if I was an NFL quarterback and had to go from Sean McVay to Anthony Lynn, I would not be too happy about that. So that'll do it for this video. Leave in the comments what you think was the driving force behind the Rams' offensive success and eventual downfall. Join me for my next video where I go over a player that I think could be the hidden gem of this year's free agency. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you next time.